is set to go. Welcome to the Blueprint Clintonville III 30% Design public meeting. Our agenda for the day is a brief refresher of Blueprint 101 given by our Ms. Tiffany Kahn. That'll give you an idea of why the project exists at all, where it began, and how far we've come. Then Fong Cheng, our project manager from the city, is going to go through the plans that we have for the Clintonville III neighborhood overall. Then we're going to give you a brief question and answer period just for general questions on those things. And then we're trying something new where we're going to ask you to select a breakout room by project area. And so Clintonville III is 5 different sub areas, and we'll go into that in a little more depth in just a second. And then in those breakout rooms, you'll be able to speak directly to the project managers and ask your property specific questions about what's going in front of my house. And then of course, you can always submit questions virtually as well to the RAMA email at blueprint@columbus.gov or to our outreach line, which is all throughout this presentation. So just to dive a little bit more deeply into how that's going to go, we've got that presentation, and then self-select for your breakout room is going to pop up at that portion. And I'll warn you, I'll give you plenty of time, and you'll select the one that corresponds with your address and clear out that way. Our PMs will then have their same slide that you see here up, and you can look at the map with them and figure out what's planned for your specific area. Just to give you a quick list, the 5 sub areas are Fredonia Piedmont, Tulane Finley, Milford Summit, Winthrop Milton, and Doris Weber. You'll notice those are street names, and these are our project managers who will be presenting on the individual ones. So here's a map of the overall, so you can kind of see at a glance how these puzzle pieces fit together, and you'll see this again as well. So if you're someone who knows, oh, my house is right there, then you might not need my link at all. But now I'm going to hand it over to Ms. Tiffany Kahn, and she's going to give you an introduction to Blueprint 101.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Tiffany Kahn. I work with the City of Columbus. I am the Blueprint Outreach Coordinator with the city. And tonight, we do want to give you a pretty robust introduction to Blueprint. I know since you are close to the neighboring Clintonville 1, you've probably heard of it. You've probably seen some of the green infrastructure. But we definitely want to go through what our project is setting out to do and why, and then kind of how we're planning on to go about it. So we'll start off by next slide and going through this nice little video that sums it up pretty good. All right, when it rains, water gets into aging and damaged pipes through cracks, leaky joints, and runoff from the roof. Most rainwater is getting in the system from residential areas, and the sanitary sewers were not built to carry lots of rainwater. So sometimes during heavy rain events, the sewers get too full, overflowing into rivers or backing up into your basement. As you can see there, one solution is to build bigger sanitary sewers, which treats the symptom of too much rainwater in the pipes. However, Blueprint is designed to solve the problem at its source, keeping rainwater out of the system in the first place and routing it through green infrastructure to create cleaner stormwater discharges. So as you're seeing this sewage pour out into the river, that's what we're trying to avoid and what we're trying to fix. Next slide, Ann. Thanks. So that's our problem, right? Rainwater is entering our sanitary sewers through these joints, cracks, holes, old sewers and foundation drains. It's either overflowing into the river through the storm sewer system or backing up into our basement. This is making pollution get to our rivers. It's contaminating our drinking water, the sources of the drinking water, but also the stormwater is picking up pollutants that are on the street. So these pollutants are making their way to our rivers and streams in 2 different ways. So one would be the sanitary sewer overflows. The other is just the rainwater rushing down the street, picking up leaves and debris, trash, dirt, all kinds of things on the street when it flows, and that gets carried into our rivers and streams through the storm sewer as well. Next slide. So we were told by the EPA that can't happen anymore. We need you to fix this problem. So we are under a consent order to solve this issue. We could do this in a couple different ways, right? So we could build bigger pipes. So this slide kind of gives us a comparison of the two options that we have. So gray is what would be, we consider bigger pipes. When we went through and studied how to go about this, we realized that gray was really just addressing the symptom of the problem. So yes, we could get bigger pipes to take both that stormwater and the sewage water to the treatment plant, treat them both so that we would have nice clean drinking water or nice clean water to send back out to the rivers, and the cycle continues. But it's wasting a lot of energy. It's costing a lot of money to clean all of that water, and it's not necessary because the storm water should go where it should go. The sanitary water should go where it should go. So in that way, it would just only be addressing the symptom, because eventually we would need bigger pipes, as the rain increases, as more people come to the city, and it's just kind of a never-ending cycle. Building the gray pipes, the gray option would provide temporary local jobs, so we would need people to build those. However, we would get machines, large machines, to build these tunnels from overseas, so that would cost a lot of money, and the money would be going away from our economy. And this bigger tunnels, bigger pipes does not address the actual quality of the stormwater making its way to the rivers and streams, so it would just move the water altogether to the treatment plant. It would address the consent order requirements, and the infrastructure would be out of sight, out of mind. However, Blueprint's approach is a greener approach. We're wanting to address the problem at its source, right? We want to make the water go where it should go and not back up into our basements, not into the storm sewer and out into the river. We want the sanitary water to go where it should be. And to fix it, we want to seal up our system so we keep that rainwater from getting in there in the first place. Our option creates permanent local jobs. So not only do we, right, I see your chat question too, Drew. How are we going to do this? So yes, we need people to build the green infrastructure. So we need designers to design it. We need contractors to install it, inspection firms, project managers, all these people to do the design and the construction. But also we need people to maintain these forever. So that is where the permanent local jobs comes in. These green infrastructure are a part of the part of the storm sewer system forever. So they will be maintained by the city, and therefore we need people to do that. So green infrastructure maintenance jobs are permanent jobs in this city. We will be using local materials. So we try to keep local firms and local companies, as well as use local materials when we're building this, keeping the money here in the economy. It improves the stormwater. So by routing all this water through green infrastructure, we have a better quality of water going into our rivers and streams. We are addressing the consent order requirements by eliminating the sanitary sewer overflows. And we are improving neighborhood infrastructure. Next slide, please. So we believe Blueprint is a better solution. It's an innovative and green solution. Instead of building more, we're going to invest in our existing infrastructure and fixing it. We're creating opportunity to improve stormwater discharges and routing that water where we want it to go, treating it before it gets to the storm sewer system and out to our rivers. In the end, we're hoping this improves the river, improves our neighborhoods, and then also the local economy. Next slide, please. This is how we're going to do it, right? There's 4 pillars to Blueprint, 4 parts. Lateral lining, roof, water redirection, sump pumps, and green infrastructure. These are our 4 pieces of the puzzle, and they work together to do what we just talked about, moving the water where we want and cleaning the water before it gets to the river. Next slide, Ann. The first part of our approach, the goal is to keep the rainwater out of the sanitary sewer system in the first place. So this is where we're talking about sealing up the system and keeping the rainwater away. These pictures from left to right are lateral lining. The middle is downspout redirection. And then the right is sump pumps. And we're going to go into each one of those in more detail. So all 3 of these help keep the water out of the sanitary sewer system. Next slide, Ian. All right, lateral lining. This is a very important piece of our project. The lateral lining directly addresses where the water is infiltrating into the system. So our sanitary laterals have been designated as the issue, right? Our pipes are old. There's lots of cracks. There's tree roots getting in there and making holes. A lot of these are clay. And so this is where the rainwater is trying to find its way into the sanitary sewer system. By lining the laterals, we are essentially sealing up the infrastructure and keeping the rainwater out. What we do is send from the manhole a balloon-like structure. We blow it up through the lateral. On the outside of the balloon, there's a resin material. When the balloon material expands, the resin is given time to cure or harden. And when it does so, it creates a seal, and it fills in those cracks, seals up that lateral and keeps rainwater out, and also prevents root intrusion. So this is really a huge property value improvement, and also a large benefit to the homeowner as well as to the project. Next slide, please. Second tool for keeping rainwater out of the sanitary sewer is that in the top left picture here, you might see downspouts splashing on a splash pad. A lot of our homes, that's just what they do. But this causes issues, right? All that water, as you can see, it can pond around your foundation. It can seep down into your basement, into the walls around your foundation, also into your foundation drain. So what we want to do is move that water out. So we want to get it away from your house, and wherever possible, all the way to the street. So this is what our roof water redirection does. It keeps the roof water from getting into the foundation drain, and also your sanitary lateral may be right there too. So we want to keep it away from seeping into the connections, the joints in your sanitary lateral. And this is our second tool to do that. The other good thing about this is that when we route this rainwater to the street, we can also tie it into green infrastructure where possible, or it can flow to the green infrastructure, and therefore it becomes cleaner before it gets to the river. Next slide, please, Anne. Sump pumps. Probably the most popular, part of our program for now is the sump pump. All homes in blueprint areas that do not already have a sump pump are eligible to get an inspection to see if we can go ahead and install one in your basement. So we can do that if you have a partially unfinished basement or unfinished basement. And what we're doing with the sump pump is that this water that's getting into your foundation drain, some of these older homes actually connect the foundation drain directly to the sanitary sewer system. So rainwater is getting into the sanitary sewer system that way as well, leading to this overwhelming state. So what we do is disconnect that foundation drain and then connect it to a sump pump. And thereby we can get some of that water out of your basement, out to the street, out from around your foundation, and then of course route it through green infrastructure where possible. There you go. The city installs this sump pump that is no direct cost to the homeowner for either of these three items. We provide the installation, the sump pump, and the backup battery. So if we can put the link in the chat, or if you want to sign up for a sump pump, you are more than welcome to do so. You can sign up on our website, or you can put your information in the chat and say, I'm interested. And we can get you on the list. So we should be installing sump pumps in Clintonville III later this year. Next slide, Anne. All right, so we're moving water away from our house. Now we're going to focus on green infrastructure. So that's our fourth tool and our focus for today. You can go to the next slide, Anne, sorry. Green infrastructure helps us to improve the stormwater discharges. So after we route this water away from our house, we get it out to the street. We're going to route it through the green infrastructure where possible. So you see in this first picture, leaves and debris. We talked about this before. Rainwater rushes down the street and picks up these things as it flows. But if we have green infrastructure in its way, we can actually filter that rainwater and get that debris and the leaves out of the stormwater before it seeps down through the rain garden and into the pipe that carries it out to the storm sewer. So thereby the water itself is cleaner before it even gets to our rivers and streams. Next slide, please. Over the years, we have accrued lots of tools. So we have green infrastructure tools in our tool belt. And you can see some pictures of examples that we have here. I'll go through them from the top left, the regional rain garden. So this is a type of green infrastructure that we try to do as much as possible and wherever we can. It's great because it's less intrusive to the homeowner. It can take a lot of water, so we can actually pipe water to these larger rain gardens, and it serves to beautify a neighborhood using unused green space while maintaining trees and plants and something nice to look at. So it's lots of benefits, lots of bang for your buck with the regional rain garden. In the middle here, we have the behind the curb, and this one shows a stacked stone wall rain garden. So that's also one of our rain gardens that we use. Then to the right is a behind the curb rain garden with no walls. So some rain gardens look a little bit more natural. They may use a different kind of a border rather than a wall. Different benefits to each, right? So some of the ones with the walls have larger storage capacities, just depending on, where they're sited. So down below the no wall rain garden is a bump out rain garden. You've probably seen these through Clintonville I. We are installing some in Linden, and this is an example of one. So bump out just means it's not behind the curb. It actually does jet out into the street, about the size of a width of a parked car. And this one, it does take away parking. So this one would be in place of a parking spot, and then also would have these little reflectors, as you can see, so that people can see it when they drive along the street. Works the same way, collects the water as it's rushing down the street. And then to the left of that, we see pervious pavement. So that's another one of our tools. And this is a completed pervious pavement street in Clintonville that you can see. And pervious pavement works similarly to the rain garden, which we will talk about now. Go ahead, Ann. All right, how does green infrastructure work? What are we doing here? This is a cross section of a rain garden. So we'll go through top to bottom and talk about what the parts are and what they do. The top, what you see when you're driving or walking down the street, is the vegetation. So that's grasses, plants, bushes, flowers. We always use local or native plants. And these plants are special because they are drought resistant and flood resistant. So we can't use just any type of flower or plant. We have to focus on the ones that are going to thrive and survive in these varying environments throughout the year. Below that, you'll have some mulch, right? And then a layer of engineered biossoil. So that's a mix of sand and soil. It helps the water to drain quickly through the soil. Underneath that are layers of stone of different sizes. And then below that is the aggregate stone. Inside this layer of stone is a perforated pipe. So that's what makes rain gardens through Blueprint unique, is that all of our rain gardens have a perforated underdrain that directly connects to the storm sewer system, so that water that drains through the rain garden has a place to go. It goes where it's supposed to go, to the storm sewer, and then is cleaner once it makes it to the river. Next slide. Pervious pavement works similarly to a rain garden in that it has lots of layers, and these layers help to clean the water as it goes through them. The top layer are pervious concrete that looks like brick, but it's not, right? So they're laid out in a pattern, and in between the brick type things are tiny little stones, and those stones allow water to seep through the cracks and down through the layers beneath. So underneath you have different levels and layers of sizes of stone and aggregate down to the very bottom. And this picture doesn't show it, but the pervious pavement streets also have an underdrain that directly connects to the storm sewer system. So some of the benefits of pavers are that naturally it's traffic calming. When you're driving down a street and you see a different type of street, you're going to slow down. So these are quite enjoyable to drive across. They're very smooth. They do filter and clean the stormwater. They reduce street flooding because that water that would normally maybe pond on the street has a place to go. And then they do require maintenance, but it seems like less maintenance than a normal road. They do get swept and then rechipped regularly. So if you want to see these, I'm sure you've already seen them, but if you haven't, take a ride on East Dominion or Cook Way in Clintonville and you can check out already installed pervious pavement. All right, next slide, please. How do we select these locations and which ones to use? So in looking and surveying an area, our design teams think about, after we route these downspouts and do this work, how much water do we actually need to control? So where is the water going to go? Where does it already naturally flow? And then how much do we need to treat or control? They're looking at barriers. So there may be underground utilities like pipes or electric. There could be trees in the way. There could be, conflicts. There could be smaller spaces that can't fit a certain thing. So they're taking into consideration all of the things above the ground and below the ground that could be obstacles to green infrastructure. Below here is our priority list, right? So this is what we try to do and what we want in order of priority. So first, we look for open green space. Where can we put a rain garden, like I showed you the regional, where it can take a lot of water, it can be sort of out of the way and not obtrusive. It could beautify a neighborhood and it could be something enjoyable. That's our first choice, right? Sometimes that's a land bank, sometimes it's a median or a boulevard space. Second choice is the right-of-way basins. So they're smaller, behind the curb, and they treat the stormwater it would be in front of a home. So they're our second choice because they're less obtrusive, they're less intrusive, and they don't take away any parking. That's our right-of-ways. And then the pavers, third choice. They are costly and the construction is pretty intense. So we do dig down about 6 feet deep, and it is a very intense process for, about 12 weeks or longer. So goods and the bads with the pavers, but they do end up being a really beautiful amenity to a community. Last choice is bump outs. So this is largely because of resident feedback and what we've learned along the way. That parking is indeed very important to residents, that these are not the first choice, and they're not as widely accepted as the other rain gardens. So therefore they are our last choice. We keep them as a tool because we can use them where, people can't already park, or places where we can't fit another type of GI or green infrastructure, but we really need to capture some water and clean water there. So that's basically the thought process behind how we choose locations. Next slide, Ian. And in the end, when these are installed, the city is responsible for all the maintenance. So everything we install, pervious pavement, rain gardens, behind the curb or in front, and regional rain gardens are all part of our storm sewer system, and regular maintenance keeps it functioning. So we must maintain them. So right now, once a month, our crews go out, they check for trash, leaves. How's the mulch doing? Are the plants okay? Did they make it through the winter? Are all the plants there? Do we need to add some more? Or are they too crowded, right? So sometimes eventually they may need to be pruned or taken out. They check the under drains and all the structures to make sure they're properly working. And then eventually we'll remove sediment if it builds up. So it is always the city's responsibility to maintain the rain gardens, and the residents can always give us a call if they see a rain garden that says, this one might need some extra care, and we're happy to send somebody out to look. Next slide. Implementing our projects. So now we kind of get an idea of what we're doing and how do we go about it. Blueprint is in 21 different project areas across the city, so it is a huge project. It is 35 years long, and you can see that there's this big space in the middle here. So what all these project areas have in common is that they have separate sanitary and storm sewer systems. So that was one thing that designates these areas. Another thing is, where is the sanitary sewer overflow happening? So these areas have been designated as project areas because they're contributing to these sanitary sewer overflows. So that's why the boundaries are very irregular and sometimes strange looking. But we started up here, as you know, in Clintonville 1. We're currently in active construction in North Linden 1. And by the end of the year, beginning of next year, Hilltop 1 and Miller Kelton will start their construction as well. And then Clintonville 3 looks into the end of 2023. So it is a 30 plus year project. And all of these areas are contributing to either backups and the priority level, I'm sorry. We take a look at where these things are occurring, where these overflows are occurring. Are they happening by schools? Are they happening by bodies of water that, you know, are leading to the drinking water? Are they happening often? Is there basement backups happening too? So the team looked at where and how much the stuff was happening, and that is how they prioritized the areas in the order that they were doing them. Because none of us want that, right? We don't want it near our kids, near our families. This is not a good thing. So next slide, please. All right, where are we today? So we're currently at 30% design. What we've done so far is we've done some data collection. Our design teams have been out in the neighborhoods in the past few years looking at all the underground structures and the trees, and they've done parking studies. Some of the areas have done repeat parking studies since it has been a little bit. Collected this data and put it into potential locations for green infrastructure. So that's what we're focused on today. Today we want to show you the potential places we could put green infrastructure in your neighborhood. We want to hear your feedback. We want to listen to your concerns. And we're going to put it out there for you to see the possibilities in this area. What we're going to do is take your feedback as well as input from the city department. So we work with Department Rec and Parks. We work with the Department of Public Service and other departments, as well as other stakeholders like Columbia Gas. We talk to them and talk about their infrastructure and their requirements. We put that together, and then as our design engineers move forward, they will incorporate this feedback into what they call a 60% design. So that is our next step, where we will be out in your neighborhoods, spray painting locations, you know, maybe in the fall of this year, showing you where, after taking this feedback, we are going to, you know, want to have our preferred locations. So where are the preferred locations for green infrastructure? After that, we hear your feedback again, and we proceed sometime in 2023. The final design will be presented. We always have a pre-construction meeting before anything happens. And you're able to see in greater detail, you know, what are these things going to look like, other impacts that you might have, and get, you know, questions answered about what construction actually means to you and your neighbors. So again, today, what we're trying to do is get feedback. We want you to realize that what we present today might look very different from the 60% design that we present, you know, in a few months from now. So please keep that in mind, that we want to hear your feedback, and that's why we're here. So we're ready to hear that from you. Next slide, please. All right, so I kind of touched on it already. I'm going to do this slide now because eventually we're going to break up into breakout sessions. So we want to make sure you know, right now we're at 30. We're going to take your feedback, incorporate it into our plans, as well as feedback from other departments, and then eventually we'll get to 60% design, and that's the next touch point we'll have with you. So think, you know, 6 months from now, hopefully we'll be reaching out to you again. We'll be out there door to door, knocking on your door and showing you the locations that are preferred rather than our potential ones this time. And we want to encourage you again to sign up for sump pumps if you haven't already. Please do that if you are interested. So we'll take a little bit of time now to answer any general project questions. So I've definitely seen activity in the chat.
I've got a couple I'm pairing together because Drew and Beth
Okay.
were both asking, how much overall does Blueprint cost and how does it compare to the gray method?
It's a good question. These, I'm gonna say, Elena, correct me if I'm wrong, these are older numbers. I believe it was 1.6 versus 1.7.
Yeah, so it's and these are 2015 numbers. But the numbers are 1.8 for the green and 2.5 for the and these are billions of dollars. So it's a big problem that requires a big solution.
So 1.8 for the green and 2.5 billion for the gray, correct?
That's correct. And this was in 2015.
Okay. Thank you.
Richard asks if we line the entire of the lateral line.
No, we go, so it depends on the lateral, right? We line up to within a few feet of the 4 to 6 connection. So that's where the sanitary lateral meets the pipe coming out of your house, where the 4-inch pipe and the 6-inch pipe meet each other. So we have to stop a few feet before that. But there are other situations where maybe we couldn't line the entire lateral. Some laterals have funny 90-degree angles, and those tend to not be able to be lined. Things like that. So every lateral is investigated. So we camera the lateral first so that we can see the condition and any of these kinds of obstacles that we may need to consider before proceeding with the lining. Fong or Fong, if you want to jump in on any of these, you're more than welcome to. Fong Chung, again, is our project manager lead and very much more capable of answering the technical stuff than me. But
I think you're doing great, Tiffany.
thanks, Fong.
To say, you guys will see me skip a few questions just because they're a little more property specific. So ask those again when we get in the breakout rooms. And let's see. So Stephen and Bob are together on this. They want to know how the city will make sure not to pave over the storm drains and the outlets from the roof water redirection. And if we will fix paved over outlets for stormwater drains.
We're not going to go fix them. If we disturb an area and we put in a new downspout or a new outlet, this is also where we kind of have coordination with other departments too. So if there is an existing curb and we take it out to the curb, they will core it in the curb so that it outlets into the street correctly. Now, if we don't touch it, we're not going to come by in every house and, you know, redo the curb and level things out. But yes, we try to make sure that there is sufficient outlet to the street. That's the goal.
Let's see. Noreen was asking about how many trees with large canopy are estimated to be removed for rain gardens. I think we can confidently say we're not sure yet for this because all of our locations are currently still proposed. So that would be more in the 60% when we have a better idea where things are going for sure. We can tell you how many trees are going to be removed. But right now you're about to see many, many more locations than will actually be installed. And let's see, Tom looks like you're going to want to hop in a breakout room as well. Let's see, Brad has asked if he can volunteer to have a rain garden placed in front of his house.
Brad, we love volunteers for rain gardens. We will definitely take that down if you're interested. Perhaps we already have one that may be going there, but so it depends, right? It depends on where the water flows, what's underneath there, and if that's going to capture the water that we need it to capture. So, but we definitely will document that you are a happy rain garden recipient and keep that on the books.
let's see, what's the distinction between local and native plants? What's local versus native?
I probably said it wrong. So we use native plants that are native to the area, at least to Central Ohio or Ohio. I probably just misspoke. I think those are largely the same thing. I don't think there's a difference, is what I'm saying.
Drew asked how quickly that gets destroyed with normal freezing and thawing. I'm guessing that's a pervious pavement question.
Can I help you answer this question?
Sure.
Tiffany? Okay, so because the permeable pavement has cracks in between, so there is no concern about freezing and thaw, because they're individual pavers with aggregate in between. There's cracks, so it's not an issue.
Thanks, Paul.
Let's see. A couple questions about whether there are any sub pumps available to replace older ones.
No, we only install sump pumps in houses without a sump pump. So we cannot replace older or non-functioning sump pumps.
Are pavers slippery when wet?
I think they actually are nicer when they're wet, right? Because the water has somewhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
So Fong, if you have anything to add to that, that'd be great.
Say Hugh's just a little bit early. Fong's going to present what we've learned from Clintonville I next. Let's see. A lot of questions. I like it. I appreciate so much the interaction. There is a serious deer problem in areas of Clintonville. Will the plants in the rain gardens be deer resistant, and will non-invasive native plants will be used? Definitely native.
Yes. Non-invasive, yes. And we've learned that some of the plants deer do love. So we'll take that into consideration when the planting plan is created, and that's good input. They do tend to prefer some of them, and we've seen that. So we don't want them to eat, we don't want to put plants that they love to eat in there, because then we'll just have to replace them all the time.
Let's see. Okay, so there's problems in the street on Arden with ice from existing sub pumps. How will that be prevented as more sub pumps are installed?
What's the question again?
They're concerned with having the streets ice over with the addition of multiple sub pumps. How are we addressing that?
That's probably specific. We can address in case.
Oh, yes, that's fair. Sorry,
Yeah.
Arden. Someone bookmark that. All right. Has impact to bike path been considered? Also, we're going to do that a regional situation, because I'm not sure which one you mean.
Fong, do we have anything close to the bike path? I've heard that in some of the, we were hearing that in the Clintonville Area Commission meeting when we were there, but does any of our stuff impact the bike path?
I will refer those to the PMs on the west side of High Street. Those two areas.
Okay.
The bike path going through those two areas.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Gonna say, looks like we're getting a bit of repeat questions and a lot that are a little more property specific. So save those to ask again later. And anything we don't get to today, we are recording and we're keeping track of the chat so that we can answer offline as well. So
I would note, Ann, that the ability to answer a resident specifically is only as good as having your name well listed on the on your label, right? So we don't know who iPad 2 is necessarily. So if you want us to know who you are, you've got to make sure that you rename yourself with a name so we know who you are.
And I see a question about plant selections. And I want to go ahead and talk about that a little. It seems like there's a lot of interest in the area, Clintonville gardening groups and people that are into this kind of thing. We love input. We want to hear, you know, your opinions on what the deer tend to decimate. And also the residents that do have the rain gardens in front of them will have input or opportunity to weigh in on the plants. So we have a planting palette we can share with you and your gardening groups as well that we pick from. So we, at a certain point, we'll probably at 60% ask the residents to weigh in if they have a rain garden located near them to let us know what they think they would like.
So now we're going to move on to our Clintonville III Blueprint Columbus project overview, which Ms. Fong will present for us.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Fang Cheng. I'm the lead project manager for Blueprint Clintonville III. For the next 5 minutes or so, I will give everyone a brief overview of the entire area and touch base on the timeline, like schedule, and some unique characters of this area, and also share the design changes and lessons learned we have for our Blueprint. Next one, please. So the 4-pillar timeline, as you can see here, the sump pump program will start and has started this year, and it will last until 2026. The green infrastructure, we're currently in design phase, and the construction will complete by the end of 2023. Oh, I'm sorry. The construction will start by the end of 2023, and we will complete by 2026. And then the lateral lining and roof water redirection will start in 2026, and will end by 2030. Next one. So this is the map showing the 5 project areas. You can see on the north is bounded by Richards Road, and east is the railroad track and also Indianola Avenue. And then on the south, where somehow my screen shows a little cut off at the end, that's the Parkview Avenue or Glen Echo Ravine. And then on the left, on the west side, it's bounded by Olentangy River. Between Predonia Piedmont, that's separated by the North Broadway. And then between Winthrop Milton and Dorothy Weber, that's separated by Brighton Road. So you can figure out using this map, and can figure out which area you live on. Do you guys see someone is making markings on the screen?
Yes.
Don't know how to stop it.
Okay. Anyway, so some of you may already know that this GI, the green infrastructure design, actually started back in 2017. You might receive the notification letters in your mail. However, this project was on hold because the city updated the overall Blueprint program schedule. So it was on hold for 3 years, and we resumed in August 2021. Currently, as Tiffany said earlier, the 30% preliminary design of the green infrastructure has been completed last month. We're in the process of review and getting feedback, and this is what the goal of this evening's meeting is, to receive hearing feedbacks from the residents, and then we can make possible modifications and improvement to our design. And there are quite some major changes we made during that last 3 years, and I'll give you guys a brief summary. Next one. So one of the major changes is Walhalla Ravine. Some of you guys may already know this is happening. So why we're doing Walhalla Ravine stream restoration? So in a lot of the previous research has demonstrated has demonstrated stream restoration in general is a very cost-effective way to remove sediment and nutrient from our waterways. So when we work on the Clintonville III area, Walhalla Ravine just presented itself as a great opportunity for us to try adding the stream restoration tool, a new tool in the green infrastructure toolbox. So that's why we started to explore and what we can do. And so then the next question came to mind is, how are we going to take credit to quantify the benefit if we do perform this stream restoration? So conveniently, Chesapeake Bay program, there was a expert panel review, expert panel recommendation on how to quantify the removal rate and taking credit if any stream restoration project is performed. So we basically followed the protocol followed the guideline in this document. Next one. So the first thing we did is to estimate how much the bank erosion rate is going to be, and looking at which section of the Walhalla Ravine is more prone for bank erosion. So we first performed a banks analysis, and based on that analysis, the results show we could receive 5.4 tons per year total suspended solid reduction if we do the Walhalla Ravine stream restoration. Next one. So to validate our prediction, we took one step further. We actually established permanent cross sections along the Walhalla Ravine where the most erosion occurred. As you can see in this map on the left, this is Longview Drive and Walhalla Road. So that's the headwater of the Walhalla Ravine. That's very heavily, actively eroded. So we established 4 cross sections in this area, and we also established another 4 cross section near the 310 Walhalla Road. So the first area we surveyed 3 times, once in June 2018, and then 12 months later, June 2019, and then October 2020. And around 310 Walhalla Road, we surveyed twice. First time was October 2019, that's the baseline, and then 12 months later, we surveyed again, October 2020. So based on the surveyed results, we look at the difference and then calculated 4.2 ton per year total suspended solid. Next one. So after we gathered all the data, we approached Ohio EPA, demonstrate, this could be a really great opportunity for us to improve or restore Walhalla Ravine and achieve. This will be a new tool in the toolbox for Blueprint, especially for the Clintonville III area. And in August 2021, we sent a request to Ohio EPA, and in August 2021, we received approval. So that's very exciting. As you can see, I listed here, by doing the stream restoration on Walhalla Ravine alone, we can achieve 15.4% of the total suspended solid reduction target, which is total, it should be 20, but 15.4% can be achieved by just doing the Walhalla Ravine stream restoration alone. So that leaves 4.6% to be achieved by the green infrastructure. So as a result of this, we'll see a lot less amount of green infrastructure in the Clintonville III area. Next one. So then the last thing I want to touch base is the design changes and also in lessons learned and improvements we have done during the last 3 years. So the first one is we significantly reduced the dimension of the green infrastructure, the rain gardens and bump outs, they are majority going to be less than 40 to 50 feet long, and we won't occupy more than 60% of the lot frontage. And other lessons learned is the depth from the top of the wall to the bottom of the basin will be less than 12 inches. That's changed from the 18 inches before. And the wall basins can be 1 walled or 2 walled or 4 walled. The 2 walled basin will be preferred. The 2 walled with the segmental blocks, that's preferred design. And the concrete walls only will be utilized if it's adjacent to roadway or sidewalk. And the permeable pavement is going to be preferably it was going to be installed on streets where there is back alley access. This way will reduce the disturbance to the resident during construction. We also minimize impact to parking, which allow that 2 feet buffer step out. In this design will minimize the impact to parking. So these are our high level design changes, improvements. I think that's my last slide. Is there any other questions about what I just talked about?
Yeah, we're still looking for high level. Of course, Lisa. Breakout rooms are coming, but now you're at least finally going to hear, not finally, what is planned for your specific sub areas. And Fong kicks that off for us as well. But let's see, has anyone got a question? Just about these updates. All right, no one jumping in, so we're going to carry on, keep throwing them in there. If we don't get to you today, we'll get to you later, but you'll have a chance to re-ask anything in a breakout room as well.
Okay.
Go right ahead, Fong.
Okay. So now I will introduce the 5 area team, the CTPM. Each one is the project manager for each of the area. I am the project manager for Tulane Finley, which is a green. Jihan Al-Khari, she is the PM for Fredonia Piedmont. And Grace McInerney. I practiced this afternoon. I still didn't get it right. Grace is the PM for Milford Summit, which is a purple. And Jim Arthur is the PM for Winthrop Newton. It's the this area on the northwest corner. And Rob Herr is the PM for Doris Weber, the blue area. All right. And next one, I will kick off with the, this is the overall map for Tulane Finley. You can see the boundary of Tulane Finley is High Street, North Broadway on the north side, and Indianola on the east, and Glen Echo on the south. So, and Walhalla Ravine goes through in the middle. So we have total 67 rain gardens. That's symbol of, that's the yellow cross sign here showing. Those are the streets the rain gardens are located. North Broadway, Indianola, Clinton Heights, High Street, Como Avenue, California Avenue, Weber Road, Calumet Street, Tibet Road, Tulane Road, Crestville Road, Kelso Road, Olentangy Street, Adams Avenue, and Woodbine Place. And we also proposed 7 blocks of permeable pavement, One is on the alley west of Calumet, and there's 4 blocks along Esmond Street and 1 block on Dewitt Street, and another one is on Finland Avenue. And there are also 8 new inlet will be installed. With that, I will turn it over to Jehan.
Hi, my name is Jihan Al-Khairi, and I am the City Project Manager for the Fredonia Piedmont area. As you see on the map, the project boundaries are High Street on the west, Indianola Avenue on the east, North Broadway to the south, and Fallis Road to the north. The project will maximize water retention and water equality through potential rain gardens on Fallis, Arden, Glencoe, Oakland Park, and on the north side of North Broadway. Also through regional rain gardens at Torrance and at the north side of North Broadway, Calumet intersection. I am Jihan, and we'll see you in the breakout session for the Fredonia Piedmont project. Grace, it's yours now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace McInerney. I'm the project PM for Milford Summit. As you can see on the map, we have a north boundary of North Broadway. On the east, we have a railroad track. You can see that going along the red line on the boundary. The south is Glen Echo Park, and the west is Indianola. In this area, we have 2 types of proposed green infrastructure, permeable pavers. There's currently 5 blocks of pavers proposed on Summit and Midgard. And we also have 19 behind the curb green infrastructure locations proposed on Walhalla, Summit, Midgard, and Crestview. If this is your area, please join us in the Milford Summit breakout.
And that leads us to Mr. Jim
Hi,
Arthur.
Hi, I'm Jim Arthur. I'm the city's project manager for Winthrop Milton. Winthrop Milton is approximately 800 single family parcels. It's bounded on the north by Hollenbrook, on the south by Brighton, on the east by High, and the river on the west side. There's 3 different types of PI that are proposed in this area. There's 148 behind the curb basins. There's 5 permeable paver streets and 7 regional basins. The streets are listed on the left for you to kind of look at and see if you're on those streets. You'd be joining the Winthrop Milton breakout session. The regional basins are at Milton and Montrose, at Olentangy and Montrose, Dunedin and Montrose, and Olentangy and Delta. And the possible permeable paver streets are Orchard Lane, Medbrook, Northmore, and Montrose. So you're welcome to join us in the breakout session.
All right. Hi, I'm Rob Herr, and I am the project manager for the Doris Weber project area. And this area is located south of Brighton, so south of the area that Jim was just talking about. And this area is bounded by Brighton to the north, High Street to the east, Tulane Avenue to the south, and the Olentangy River to the west. And because of the relative density of the housing in this area, we are currently proposing all paver parking, or excuse me, paver streets as shown on the orangish shading here on these streets, which include Delhi, Longview, Como, Milton, Pacemont, Neal, Weber, and that is it. If you would like to discuss any of these proposed paver streets, please join me in the Doris Weber breakout section.
Thank you, Ron. All right, so it is the moment of truth. I do notice addresses have slowed down in the chat, so hopefully everybody knows where they're going. I'm going to open up our breakout rooms. in just one second. And I'll see some of you in there.